Today we are going to South Africa, and of course we are going to be looking at the new land amendment law, if you like, land amendment bill in South Africa, whereby President Ramaphosa is in the eye of the storm as we speak now, and we understand that some of the implication of this new development is that the President of the United States of America, talking about Donald Trump, had to give a sanction against South Africa. All these are some of the implications of some of the development in South Africa. Well, to look at all this this afternoon, we are so privileged. I was so privileged to have three gentlemen here. We have Honorable Derek Nwango, one-time candidate at the Edo State House of Assembly election under the platform of the Labour Party. Sir, you're welcome to the program Africa Discourse.
Very good afternoon to you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been quite a while on this program.
No doubt.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And also to join me to welcome this afternoon, not honorable now, Dr. Patrick Awu Saige, public affairs analyst. You're welcome to the program Africa Discourse.
Thank you, Evans, and thank you for having me.
And perhaps Dr. Awu Saige is going to be giving us a first-hand information what it is in South Africa, because I understand that many times he's been there, so he's going to be telling us how life is.
I'm not South African.
I know you're still in Nigeria, but you give us the first-hand information, what South Africa, its life is all about there. You're welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
And also the international conflict resolution expert, a Syria author, Nowita Igbutako, is also on the show this afternoon. Nowita, you're welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay. All right, so gentlemen, perhaps we'll start with Honorable Derek Nwango, because the Africans, that's what they are called now, the white minority in South Africa. As we speak, about some few days ago, we saw demonstrations in the streets of Johannesburg, in the streets of Pretoria, whereby the white minorities are demonstrating the latest law that has to do with land usage. As it looks as if that their land is being taken over by the black majority. I don't know how you may want to react to all this. Let's start from there.
Do me do you is what this is all about, because in the 17th century or thereabouts, the Europeans started flocking into Southern Africa, which is their stock in trade anyway. They mostly go to a place that is more habitable than their European origin or ground, and cohabit and try to live and settle in that domain. They did it in Australia, where almost all the aboriginals of Australia were wiped out. They did it in the America, South and North America, and even Canada, where most of the native indigenous people of America and Canada were wiped out. So they came to Africa and entered through the southern part of Africa. Meanwhile, they tried to actually settle in the entire, space of the African continent. But God willing, the place was inhabitable to the Europeans, because Africa is mostly plagued by Anopheles mosquito, the malaria-bearing mosquito. And only the black man has some form of immunity, to that parasite. So I'm sure nature bestowed mosquito to the African people so that we will not be annihilated. Because from the northern part of Africa, the Arabs were already, pushing the black folks, down to the, central and western part of the African hemisphere, while the Europeans were pushing from the southern part of the hemisphere. So the northern part of Africa is not so plagued with mosquito. Also with the southern part of Africa that is so cold, wasn't so plagued with this Anopheles mosquito. So that place was very comfortable for the Europeans, to settle in. And by settling there, they are stuck in trade. They have a way of having cholera outbreak wherever they go to. They already have some form of vaccines, so that it doesn't affect them. But whenever they come to a place, there's automatic cholera outbreak, which automatically wipes out the entire population of that place, except for a microscopic few who have natural, immunity to this plague. Having said that, the Europeans originally were interested in colonialism for the purpose of exploration, exploitation, or extraction. Because there are two types of colonialization. For the purpose of exploration and for the purpose of settling. Originally, it was all about settling. That's why Europeans now own Australia, they own the South and North America, they own the Canada, the space, the entire land space of Canada, except for a few indigenous people, like I've already said. But in the case of Africa, they could not take charge of the entire land space of Africa because of the initial, challenge that I just mentioned. So as a result, they now devised another means, which is the colonialization for the purpose of exploration, exploitation, extraction, and destabilization.
And that was how they settled in the present.
But South Africa, they had already settled in the southern part of Africa. They could not push, northward because of this plague I told you about, or maybe because of other forces, not immediately to our disposal. But in the long run, the vast part of South Africa was being inhabited by the, Dutchlanders, the Europeans, to the extent that in 1913, a law, native land use law or act, was made by the Dutchlanders against the South Africa, that only 7% of the entire land space of that South Africa will be allocated or will be usable to the native South Africans. So up to around, to the extent that around 1955, February 5th, about 60,000 Southern African, native South African were, ejected from their homes to give room for the imperialist European to expand their land space for the purpose of industrialization and farming. And the little space of land left in areas like Cape Town and Pretoria was now where all the black folks were cramped into. So after the 1955, much later, apartheid ravaged the entire, length and breadth of South Africa. But around the year 1993, the issue of apartheid
started dying.
It was abolished.
Yeah.
And to the extent that black folks were now given some form of liberation, leverage to move freely. But the law of apartheid was enforced to the extent that black folks cannot mingle freely with white folks. They cannot even go to the territory that was originally theirs, which have been, expropriated by the white folks.
White folks, yeah.
So much later there have been a lot of cries, a lot of pressure on the government to take back the land that was originally theirs from the white folks. To the extent people, South Africans felt that Nelson Mandela will bring them to this state of Eldorado.
Okay, let me pause you. Thank you so much for that long chronicle to kind of bring us, with speed to history on how the white Africans, that's how they are called now, how they settled down in the present, South Africa. But Barrister Dr. Awosage, now we are looking at a situation whereby Cyril Ramaphosa, it is not his first tenure. I mean, we are looking at a situation that some people would have probably thought that, he came on board in the first tenure, he would have sponsored a bill to kind of promote this land amendment law that we're talking about now. In the first place, this law is not his own. It is not the original idea of the ANC. As we speak now, there's a coalition government in South Africa.
That's right.
And we understand that some of the conditions that brought about that coalition government in South Africa, the present-day coalition government in South Africa, is that at the end of the day, the land has to be taken back to the re-owners, in South Africa. In other words, the black South Africa. You want to also develop along this line too?
Well, it's obvious that leadership is all about linking up or intertwining with other great minds. he had come on board as President Cyril Ramaphosa. I did his bits, and we saw all that came by him before. We saw the likes of Julius Malema and others, vocal people speaking against all he had done, and making it very clear that the blacks are still being undermined. And I would say that's the truth, because I will say the racial discrimination in Southern Africa is worse than any part of the world. I remember a time, just a personal experience. I and my friend were at Mandela Square. We're just there and having some time together, and there's this little girl, white girl, little girl. My friend was snapping photograph, and she came close to him. So he wanted to capture her in the picture. The mother ran so quick, pulled her daughter away from him.
Because he's a black.
Because he's black. And that was funny. And we are not from there. And Nigerians are bold, you know. Normal South Africans understand carefully. They don't
go near them at all.
Close to them. The Nigerians, everywhere we go, we mingle with everybody. Whether you are red, purple, pink, black, whatever you are, we know we are not intimidated by your color. So he was wondering why the mom, he was trying to talk to her, what is it? And she just said, no, she walked off. So what I'm saying here is this. See, you cannot continue to hold these people over this long period. My brother established a long chronicle analysis about how it all started. We know at a time the West Indian, their ship they had a shipwreck and they couldn't find SOS, so they started trying to see how they could, and they discovered that that place was like Europe too, you know, the weather was cool for them, and then they started. You came into a land and then you want to take control, putting up laws to weaken the natives and all of that. That has been the system. You see, it's a pattern that they have always employed over time, and it has not helped anybody. And it will bring us back home, because the way I will look at this whole thing is that if Africans don't come together in critical times like this, I wonder when will we ever come together. Because obviously, if you look at it, it's like the Africans are being undermined, blacks are seen as second fiddle, whatever you call them, and now you have come into my land. I know, what's his name, Malema had cried, and so many of them. Mandela went to prison for 27 years, and a whole lot of, you know, you still go back to South Africa to date. You still find that the black community, black environment, they are the poorest of the poor. You still see the white. You say, well, they are the owners. You know, like I saw what Leo Marx did, and saying, Malema should be arrested, declared criminal, international criminal. Now, if you look at that, he said, you are a benefactor of the supremacists we talked about. That's why you are talking that way. The truth is that the owners of the land, they should be given their lands. And that's basically what they're asking for. Or even what Malema was asking for back in the day, say, let's be equal. We are not saying, if we say Mandela say everybody should be equal, we are all South Africans. If he has this white man and black in color, he shouldn't have more privilege than I have. That is what they were saying. And that has been the issue over time. And as it stands today, it has not been regularized. I must give kudos to Cyril Ramaphosa for the courage, because the ticket of which he had come in is not really funny, but he had to do it because he just needs to do the needful. And we can see the reactions around the world now. You can see, obviously, in a man like Donald Trump, I have so much respect for. In other areas we know, I have so much regard for him in the way he reasons and plans. But again, in this, I would call him not. I don't think that's the way to go. Talking about sanctions back and forth on, because you said the white guys have been undermined, and that's all you care about. If you are talking about getting your people out, then come have your folks here and take them back. And now even you could see that even the white guys are saying, we don't want to leave. He's actually offering
where are they living?
He said, he's offering them a privilege. Come on, we will keep you in. You know, just come over, come over. And they said they want to just help us to retain the status quo, which is not going to remain. I know South Africans, by God's grace, and I know they are fighting, they are not going to keep fighting. The law is there now, you can't argue with it, so let the law decide. If there's a law that is saying the unequitable distribution of land should be reviewed. If he gets 50, I should get 50. If he gets 30, I should get 30. It's not when he gets 80, I'm getting 5 or 10. I think that has been the narrative. But as it stands now, I think it's a good time in South Africa, and I think it's not going to be easy. it's not going to be easy. It's still going to be a long walk to that great freedom.
All right, so we'll take a short pause now. The program is still Africa Discourse on Independent Television, and we are trailing one of the latest development in South Africa, talking about the land use law that seems to be in favor of black South Africans there against the white minority. We'll take a short pause now. We'll be right back. All right, thank you one more time. The program's still right here on television, independent television, Africa Discourse. And the Land Use Act, the Land Use Law is what we are talking about this afternoon in South Africa. Nowita Ibotako, the international conflict resolution expert. Now, Nowita, we are not at conflict here, except the fact that little protests, some few days ago concerning this development. But let us look at the position of personalities like Donald Trump, who somehow is being described as a character that probably is crying more than the bereaved. I mean, as we speak now, he has landed a sanction, an executive order against South Africa. And of course, Donald Trump is not taking lightly to the whole issue. For him, it is purely racial discrimination that the white minority in South Africa are being discriminated against. Is that correct?
Well, I don't see from that angle that the whites in South Africa are being discriminated against. I don't see from that perspective. What I'm seeing playing out is that the Cyril Ramaphosa of this world, the president, is trying to right historic wrongs, historic manipulations, quoting my brother, exploitation of the highest level. You talk about 1913.
Yeah, how it started.
The native art, the land art, whatever. You see, 20% of the Boers under apartheid, 20% of them, they had access to 80% of the land. 80. Then I left 7% for the pre-aborigines, the owners, the fundamental owners of the land. What are we talking about? When apartheid came to an end in 1994, most people wanted Nelson Mandela to do some magic. He said, no, so we'll do it gradually. And based on what our brother has told us, the gradual process has not even helped the South Africans. Inequalities of the highest level is still at work. The South Africans, the white South Africans, they still have, a chunk. They are still enjoying a chunk of the resources. We're not only talking about land alone. Economic resources.
All benefits.
All benefits. So, talking about Donald Trump, Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a child of apartheid South Africa.
That's correct.
How exactly do you
He migrated with his mother. We are historians.
from South Africa?
Yeah.
From there.
Yeah, he migrated. In fact, of the fact that he's white, he is not a black man, but he could not even survive, so to say, because what motivated is, exit. I'm sure, there are reasons. But now, I don't want us to go too far. What is happening is racism of the highest level. We see the whites still dictating to us how we should run our affairs. I think we should disagree with that. That reminds me of Bob Marley.
Africa Unite.
Yeah, apart from Africa Unite, he said, until the philosophy that says one race is superior, another one is inferior, is discarded, it is abandoned, it is put aside, there will be no peace. What are we saying here? And the same Bob Marley told us that we should remember our history. He went that memory lane, how the whites, how the Europeans came to Africa to appropriate our lands by force. Gunboat democracy, gunboat diplomacy. They didn't come with I shake you and I shake you. They came to manipulate the land with force. At the international level, we call it gunboat diplomacy. They don't care who you are. They force you to accept their whatever. So what are we talking here? So the challenge, just to quote Bob Marley, is for Africans to remember their history. Somebody said Africans are not even fighting, they are not united on this issue. For me, what is happening in South Africa is a challenge to all Africans to remember their history, according to Bob Marley. What is at play is racism. You cannot say the white are more human beings than the blacks in South Africa. Because the history of South Africa is still in our tips, in our fingertips. When memory lane, most of the things you say were facts, fundamental facts. People came to a land and take over the land and they're having fun. We remember what happened in apartheid. We remember the country that supported apartheid. United States, we can remember Frank de Boer, name them, the prime ministers that were there. They were ruthless. They were dictators. They were tyrants of the highest level under apartheid regime. We know what sustained apartheid. The Western power sustained apartheid. That's right. Yes, that's what apartheid. It was when apartheid got to a level and they said, what do we do? Turn to the Nigerian government and other international forces before reluctantly they left the scene. Frank, what is his name? De Boer. The last apartheid prime minister. So the challenge in all of this for viewers watching us all over the world is for Africans to be united. So Africans to remember about their history. To stand behind Cyril Ramaphosa. What don't we have in Africa? Without African resources, the Western world cannot stand. That's the fact of the matter. Okay. We should be able to tell Donald Trump that he cannot sit in White House and dictate to us. We are not in the 1920s. We're not in the 1920s. We're not under apartheid era. If only Africans can come together, if only Africans can look Donald Trump unblinking in the eyes and tell him, you cannot dictate to us. Okay. I think that is the way to go. Okay. And we have the resources to do that. You know, for bad political leadership, maladministration of African leaders who don't have mission, doesn't have mission. That's where we are. And let me quickly say this. Talking about people that have been deported for America, for instance. If African leaders made Africa a haven, political haven, economic haven, social haven, for me and our brothers who are facing deportation. Yeah. Would they go across to the United States? Would they pass through Nicaragua? Would they pass through Panama? Would they pass through all those spots? So it is because African leaders, they've not led us well. Most of them, they've not led us well.
Derek,
so that is my position. So I stand solidly behind Cyril Ramaphosa.
Okay. All right, so Derek Uwango, I think I don't want to say that the ANC has probably been the greatest disappointment to South Africans in the fight against apartheid. I mean, we're talking about a period of about 30-something years now, from 1994 until recently, that we are seeing a Cyril Ramaphosa really trying to come to the cross of apartheid in South Africa. This land ownership issue has been a main issue.
It's an issue.
In apartheid in South Africa. And we also understand, like I said a while ago, that this whole idea is not even his own original idea. I mean, it's been brought about as a result of the coalition government that he had with other political parties now, that look, this thing has to be. Now, the question we ask to that, now, for Cyril Ramaphosa, can we really continue to praise him? Because for some people, they don't want to talk about him at all. I mean, because it's not his own idea. I mean, he's been there the second time and he has not been able to do that. How come now? So he'd rather be condemned than be praised on this issue. Derek Uwango.
Well, first of all, let me address some fundamental issues, which is with regard to the whiteness ideology that we all seem to be embracing. These people are not whites, they are Caucasians. That ideology was brought forth in order to,
to bamboozle everybody.
Exactly, to make us seem that we are black and that they are white. We are not black, we are brown colored. Why they are peach colored.
I'm sorry, and we are beautiful and handsome than them. No, be peach in Istanbul by then. We are super.
So they are Caucasians and we are Negroes or Akembulans. You know, Akembulans, we are from Akembulan. We are black and brown colored individuals.
All right, we'll take a short pause now because of some headlines and updates that we need to let you see at this moment. So we'll be right back. Please stay tuned. All right, thank you one more time. Now, Derek Uhuago, we're trying to, establish, the fight against apartheid. For more than 30 years now, we've seen that apartheid issue ended. But this land use ownership has been the main issue. And it's only now that Cyril Ramaphosa, is trying to put a stop to it. So how can we really say that Cyril Ramaphosa or the ANC, that a lot of persons believe to have been in the forefront against the fight of apartheid, has really been true in all its attempts?
Well, if you ask me, this expropriation act is a charade.
It's a charade?
Yes. It's not the original, document that was, recommended for the sole purpose of righting the wrongs of the apartheid era. Originally, the native South Africans whose land were forcefully taken were supposed to be given back their land. That was the original document as proposed. But in order for Cyril Ramaphosa, or whatever they call him, to please both sides of the divide, and I think he's the one who recommended that the law to be watered down, And he was doing it to please the Caucasians, the Africans, those imperialists. He didn't know that those people, they want everything. They don't want you to, they are ready. You will see one of the representatives of these Oromia people threatening civil war, hell and brimstone, if they ever attempt to take the land back. So he was trying to please both sides of the divide, not knowing that the Europeans, the imperialists, will still not accept it, however watered down the law is. What is the main drive of this acts? It is to say that government exercises the right to take any land for the sole purpose of public use. That is to say, if government want to do something like mass housing development, it can take it. Not to take the land and give it back to its original owner.
No, not be so now.
That is not what this law is all about.
What are you talking about?
So yes, so as far as I am concerned, this law still doesn't, serve to address the ills of apartheid. So with time, I'm sure folks like Julius Malema, who, whether they like it or not, will eventually become leader of the South Africans. It is unfortunate that South Africa is one of the dullest, nation in the African region when it comes to trying to fight for the struggle of freedom. They knew how the rest of the African nations stood by them in order for the apartheid regime to be dismantled. But when South Africa, if you ask me, it has the largest platform today in Africa to address issues as it concerns the imperialist nature of the Westerners against Africa. But they've not done anything of interest to addressing that issue. Instead, they went as far as trying to fight for the freedom of the Palestinians. These are oppressors.
When they have
who work hand in hand with the Westerners, to subjugate Africa. Remember the Palestinians, the Jordanians, the Lebanese, and what have you. When the people who took over Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, these were black lands in the past, but they have whitened it because the Arabians have dislodged the black folks in that land. These are part of the people who were originally our problem. They left the problem in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and they were addressing the challenges of the Jews and Palestinians in the Asian land. Is that not misplaced priority? They have not been able to address their problem. And they were tested. They were tested and found wanting. That is why today the Europeans are ready to deal with South Africans. But if South Africans are wise, they should stand on their ground to resist these imperialist tendencies of always trying to subjugate Africa. You can imagine, only a few days ago, they arrested the Miss Universe runner-up, the Nigerian of Nigerian origin, just because of that sentiment that even though they tried to deprive her of that crown, she came to Nigeria, won Miss Nigeria, and went to take second position at the world global stage. Okay. They are still persecuting the mother tea today. So these are the kind of pettiness that surrounds South Africans. They have forgotten to address the problem of the black folks with their very large platform. That is why they are getting all the black class from the Westerners.
Yeah, I will say, one thing that we also need to look at now is what seems to be close by. I mean, he has said it that if care is not taken, this may lead to a civil war in South Africa. The question that we ask is, can South Africa afford to go to civil war, go to war on this? Because from the body language of the Africans, that's the white minority in South Africa, they won't let go as far as they are concerned, because to them they have a Superman there, the US president trying to support them and all that. What? So they won't let go, irrespective of the fact that Cyril Ramaphosa and his government is of the opinion that, hey, this thing is all about, you know, equity distribution of land.
That's correct.
You know, distributing land equitably in such a way that because you are a white person, you are a separatist, you won't own land more than a black man.
That's correct.
You know, that's what Cyril Ramaphosa stands for. But from the Africans now, the white minority, they won't let go. And from the look of things, they're already getting ready for a showdown, for a civil war. Can South Africa afford to go to civil war on this?
Well, if they are hoping on Donald Trump, he will disappoint them, because Donald Trump is not ready to get into any war with anybody. Just make all, you know what he said about the Gaza Strip, how he's going to come, clean up the place, make it a beautiful place, and then find a way to rehabilitate those there. So just talk. You know, the truth is that if you should understand that South Africa is part of BRICS too also. They also have their BRICS.
Okay, BRICS.
Yeah,
you know, of course.
So you
first African country.
You understand that is also a way out. And Vladimir Putin is also waiting. If you want me, just call on me. And you know, you cannot have a Putin on behind them. I think that was what Malema said the other time.
Yeah, but Putin and Trump, I mean, they are friends.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said I wouldn't take Donald Trump. Donald Trump, I won't take him seriously. He is just talking to them. You know, he's seeking where to make some good money. If you can call me to take over your farmland, I can come and invest there. He's looking for where to put money. I think that's what Donald Trump is all about. He's not actually in their long-headed politics for wanting to fight here and there. I don't think that's Donald Trump I know. He's a businessman, so he's interpreting everything. The man that could go and bury his late wife in the land so as to evade or to avoid paying taxes in America. So what are you talking about? He will make money from anything. That's, for me, looking at the person of Donald Trump. Now, for the South Africans, you know, it's obvious that, you know, they are so timid and they are scared of the white guys, or the Caucasians, according to what my brother said. Yes, you know, they are scared of them. But the truth is, with the association they belong to. So don't think Ramaphosa is speaking for himself. He's speaking from somewhere. So if you dare to threaten me, then there are forces behind me. So if that's it, so be it. And let's see, because it must be done equitably. Where laws can't work, where laws have been put out there and you don't want to obey it, then they become an issue. If you said no, is Donald Trump going to leave America to come down or send mercenaries to South Africa to start fighting? Then what do you expect of people? Like you saw the Ukraine war, you saw what happened. They said, oh, in a few days it will be over. It will be over. Where are we now? So that's how it is. It's not going to be. You have what you are banking on. I have also. You may say you have yours in more capacity. It's not the quantity you have. It is the person that is using it. You know, you get what I'm trying to talk about. You're talking about your stock-up missiles. We have with all this, we are superpower and all of that. There's nothing like that anymore. The world has gone beyond that era. All those fighting of who is the greatest. America, you saw how Obama, Biden, you saw the way they have been very careful with people like Vladimir Putin. Even if you say, well, he's not such a great power like us, why are they avoiding him? If Putin steps in, obviously they are going to give way. And that's a way out for South Africa. And I believe South Africans know exactly what they're doing. In as much they have suffered so much, I feel for them so much because they are parts and parcel of Africa. And I believe in the Africa agenda. I think they should start working because working to integrate Africans more. You know, where we can work together and begin to see ourselves. This idea of having, I was there some time ago and then some guy said he flies down to Africa, you know, to visit for Africa countries, you know, to look for African women, you know. That's how he go on his own vacation. Without visa, just travel around, go around, one guy moving around because you're Caucasian white and you have some few dollar bills to play around, you know, just to mess up the women around. That's what he was saying. Now, if African, I cannot just fly to other African country without either visa arrival or whatever, you must fly for visa. So we should have a more, you know, integration in that sense so that will be robust. You know, Africa cannot just be, or rather South Africa will not just allow the blacks there now because they are the original owners. And we cannot allow them, or we will not support, and we will not encourage them for the peace to reign. What kind of peace is that? It's I think in international relations talks about balance of terror. If you want peace, then there should be balance of terror. So if there's no balance of terror, there's no peace. Right, so if there's balance of terror, there will be peace.
Now, it's balance of terror. They're bringing peace to Ukraine and Russia now.
That's exactly because it's all balanced.
Because that's okay. Yeah, no, what we are looking here, because I was, I guess, said something, you know, quite striking. That the South Africans, the blacks, seems to be afraid of the Africans. So that's the white minority. And that seems to be a major truth. You know, I don't know whether it's a psychological problem in the whole of Africa. The black man sees a white man, he stands still. You understand? And that seems to be what is going on in South Africa. That's why for more than 34 years now, after apartheid, you know, the blacks, they still see the whites as superior to them in Africa. You know, I mean, no wonder the white Africans, South Africans still laying claim to ownership of lands there and all that. Now, how can we, because we are talking about integration here. I mean, how can we really integrate with people that we seems to have this inferior disposition towards them? I mean, how can we integrate with those kind of people?
I think there's this paper I'm working on, talking about natural leadership intelligence. I'm doing this dissertation. I will soon be there. You see, the problem with Africa and Africans, they don't have natural leadership potentials.
So,
most of us, we don't have it. Just feel we can scan them. Somebody is doing something fantastic in Rwanda now. These guys who broke away from ECOWAS, they are doing something fantastic now. Go to Burkina Faso. Go to Mali. Go to Niger. Because they go to their history, according to Bob Marley. Know your history. Don't forget your history. Know your destiny. Africa is civilization started in Africa. Benin was a mighty empire. There was no United States. The empires, great emperors. We know history. We know what I'm saying. At a time, Africa went to decline. So, answering your questions, Africans should produce leaders. We will look at these guys unblinkingly in their eyes. We are seeing them happening in this century. Just a few years from now, before now. It is happening in Burkina Faso. It is happening in Niger. It is happening in Rwanda. After the genocide, after the ruins that visited Rwanda, in less than 10 years, we see a character that transformed that landlocked country to something else. So we have to play the post-apartheid leaders. Maybe we'll blame Mandela and leave Mandela alone because he was a father figure. Thabo Mbeki came. They have not done well. They have not done the needful. Obviously. Just as he has said, the law in question is not even drastic. It's not going to take people's farm. It's not going to take people's businesses. Talking about how you can take lands for public use. The law, the original proposal, the fundamental proposal, as I said, have been watered down. Yet some people are promising war and brainstorms. See, Ramaphosa, he has something going for him. Though he's a coalition government. But you should know that the blacks are still majority in South Africa. There's no way in any election that any white man can win Pretoria. That's the fact of the matter. Just for you to know how to play his game. Coming back to your question, I challenge African people to create space. I don't want to use the word fight. Struggle for the best guys to appear in presidential palaces, even in South Africa. People that can look at these guys today, few years before now, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, they were under the shadow of French imperialism. My brother, do you agree with me or yes or no?
All day long.
They finished those countries. Civil independence without independence. Up to their currencies, up to their gold, up to their wealth, all sorts of manipulations. But these countries, they have broken loose. Burkina Faso has come with as Nigeria come with electric cars. Burkina Faso have produced electric cars now. So that's leadership. So I said, I'm working on the dissertation. By God's grace, we are there. I don't have a PhD somewhere. So, natural leadership intelligence.
For all Africans.
For Africans, you know, to say that people can study and let the right guys come to power. Come to power, we know there are dynamics, there are challenges. Because those who have access to power, they don't want where the elite, where the elites conspiracy. Not only in Nigeria, but in most African countries. Because elitist conspiracy. They are not good, they will not allow good people to enter.
All right, so
the thing is that we should encourage Cyril Ramaphosa. Then African leaders should learn from the present challenge. For me, the present challenge coming up from Donald Trump is enough for Africans to sit tight. Repair your countries. Put a electoral process, let it be transparent. People should struggle. Let the people who have natural leadership potentials, let them enter. But they can look at these guys. We have the resources. They cannot survive without us.
Okay. Now,
that's the truth of the matter.
Derek, as we take our last lap now, because of time fast, so you know, we begin to wrap it up now.
That's a fact.
Taking the bull by the horns. That's the challenge that we Africans need to have. Starting from some of the executive orders that Donald Trump has been rolling to African nations and all that, deportation and all that. So where do we begin from as a continent?
Well, first of all, I will start by saying that just to align with the concept of leadership that is proposing.
Yeah.
You see, proactive vision is the
vision.
beginning of strategic wisdom.
That's a good one.
Our leaders mostly do not have proactive vision.
They're not there.
It was proactive vision that caused...
Let's say some of our leaders now.
Most of our leaders.
Okay, oh, that's a good one. It was proactive vision that led the European leaders to come together in Berlin in the year 1888, stroke 1889.
1884, 1885.
Stroke 1885. To slice up Africa for themselves.
Yeah.
For the sole purpose of colonialization, which is for their exploration, and extraction of mineral wealth from Africa. You know, we as Africans need to put on our thinking cap.
Yeah.
Good.
And support our own.
Yeah.
Today, after all the sanctions here and there in Zimbabwe, today in Zimbabwe there's a new revolution there. They have gone beyond the electric car. They are now producing a car that uses current. It's a wave from the atmosphere.
Yeah, I saw it.
As a power source. You know. So if you are afraid to take the bull by the horn, you will always be trampled on
Perpetually.
by the bull.
Yeah,
You know, so we need to take the bull by supporting our own, by loving ourselves, by standing up against the imperialist tendencies of the Western world.
Okay. All right. So, Dr. Awosage, you know, he just reminded me of the Zimbabwean issue. You know, a very close situation with South Africa. But we saw what came out in Zimbabwe, almost turning into a civil war issue and all that, the whites and the blacks and all that.
Because of Robert Mugabe's...
You know, talk along that line quickly.
You see, in as much as there are laws and I wouldn't, I believe so much in the rule of law.
Quickly now.
Now, again, if you look at it, Ramaphosa have said, look at this, what we want to do. That's become the law. You say, well, you're not going to allow it, you're not going to allow this be. But the truth is that no matter what it is, the people will still have to, they will definitely have their say and definitely have their day, because the blacks cannot be undermined. The law is there already, so you cannot do anything against it. If you say no, whether a civil war is going to break out like they are advocating for, they will not be spared to. You that is advocating for war, you are not keeping your head somewhere else outside the country. So if that's the case, so be it. And let a new generation start.
All right, Butako, quickly, 30 seconds.
Until the philosophy that says one race is superior and the other one is inferior, Africans should discard it. They should dismantle that philosophy.
Yeah, from their minds.
They should challenge Donald Trump. If I challenge President Tinubu, is the president of the largest black nation on earth. I challenge Tinubu to even call for a conference. Otto von Bismarck in 1984-85. They saw that was not in Germany. No resources. They took the bull by the horns. Tinubu should lead Africa and lead Africans. Should call for a conference that will fundamentally change a lot of things. I challenge the new world order being reset by Donald Trump.
Okay. All right, so gentlemen, we'll draw the curtain on this program today. And for viewers out there, you've seen that all that we're talking about here is that the continent Africa belongs to Africans. So in as much as we are also trying to entertain foreigners amongst us, because those Africans, the white minority in Africa now, you know, some of them, they are also married to black Africans, black South Africans. So we really cannot say they should go. We should understand that we have to live in peace together so that we can have continent. So I want to say a very big thank you to Derek Ohanwo. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Please extend the handshake down. And also to Nwita Egbota.
My brother, I like your historical analysis.
All right, so until the same time, on the same program, next week, Monday, my name is Evan Zunokoge. Good afternoon.